It's Power Hour LSU.
Man, I'm headed to the field. Terror of the tiger, I'ma always keep it real. Everything gon' get devoured, it's the power. LSU with Carter, it's the power. LSU with Carter, man, I'm headed to the field. Terror of the tiger, I'ma always keep it real. Everything gon' get devoured, it's the power. LSU with Carter, it's the power. LSU with Carter, man, I'm headed to the field. Terror of the tiger, I'ma always keep it real. Everything gon' get devoured, it's the power. LSU with Carter, it's the power. LSU with Carter, man, I'm headed to the field. Terror of the tiger, I'ma always keep it real. Everything gon' get devoured, it's the power. LSU with Carter, it's the power. LSU with Carter.
Let's go. Another late night PHL after Indiana shellacked Oregon. We're going to give you the latest that you need to know about Mr. Sam Leavitt and Lane Kiffin's journey to Knox Vegas. And look, and I say Knox Vegas, I don't think anyone knows that I'm talking about Knoxville, Tennessee, one of my favorite SEC cities in the entire conference. But I do need to start with what Indiana just did and the comparisons to 2019 LSU. It's amazing. We went into tonight's game talking about it's hard to beat a good team twice. And we all thought Oregon was going to be competitive. But you then get a few hours into this game, and the ESPN graphic folks are trying to find ways to make this game interesting. And they put Joe Burrow's beautiful Goldilocks hair next to Fernando Mendoza, who gives one of the best interviews of all time. And they're comparing the two. The first thing is it is dumb to compare the two because they are not close. 2019 LSU absolutely dog walks Indiana, whose schedule does not touch what 2019 LSU had to play. And then the second thing I would say is 2019 LSU has Joe Burrow, the greatest college football player we have ever seen. Fernando Mendoza, cool. You're Sam Bradford cloned. Other than that, is he a great quarterback? Yes. Is this one of the most well-coached teams in the history of college football? Yes. And what I would also say is that you can make a case that this Indiana team is a better story than 2019 LSU. I think a lot of us would actually agree with that. I think now that we know that Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson are some of the best players in the NFL, I don't know how many of these Indiana guys are going to light up the next level. The fact that Indiana did what they did is crazy. And they still got to win one more. Don't need to overlook Miami. They got a lot of talent. They got a great pass rush. Malachi Toney's the most exciting true freshman receiver we have seen in his stature in a long time. But let's be honest. 2019 LSU dog walks Indiana. And I'll go one step further. I think 2019 Clemson and 2019 Ohio State would be favored on a neutral field versus 2025 Indiana. And I also think it's difficult to compare eras because I got to shout out Brandon Walker of Barstool. He had a funny tweet. He said the following: I do know one thing. You can't really compare 2019 LSU to 2025 Indiana, except the fact that the players are the same age. Because this Indiana team is old. They are so old. They are mostly year 4 and year 5 starters. And you saw a lot of really talented true freshmen of that Oregon Ducks team have some of the worst games of their career. Number 4, their corner, who had 2 interceptions versus Texas Tech, got absolutely torched in this game. So 2019 LSU is better. than 2020 whatever Indiana. Okay, let's talk about Sam Leavitt. So Matt Moscona confirmed that there was a visit, or at least we do know that Lane Kiffin is in Knoxville. Okay, could he just be tweeting out old photos? I don't know. But Moscona's gotten a lot of things right about this, and I've heard basically the same thing. Multiple sources confirm that Lane Kiffin is, in fact, in Knoxville to see quarterback Sam Leavitt. Leavitt left LSU without committing while the Damon Williams situation was unfolding. Multiple reports have Leavitt set to visit Miami after Tennessee. Kiffin is trying to close his portal quarterback. Okay. And then we also have another quarterback here in Landon Clark of Elon, an All-American, a Jerry Rice Award finalist. You looked at his stats yesterday. There he is taking in his official visit. Now, I don't know how Landon feels about taking this official visit with Lane Kiffin getting on a plane ride to go see another quarterback, but Landon would understand that he would probably come into a situation where he is the backup, and I do think Landon would be a great backup, and I do want to share this.
All right, y'all. Tell y'all how we run out of LSU. This how we running out of LSU.
Who had 1 carry for 4 yards, Rayson Guillory. Okay, it's not him who I want you to see.
Y'all ready, Rayson Guillory? Let's go! We're here! Let's go!
His dad going nuts. That's how I'd be going in there. But yes, LSU is trying to get things closed with Sam Leavitt. You know, I said this a few days ago with the Leavitt visit going to Tennessee and then him having a visit set up with Miami. We don't know if that visit is going to go through. Lane Kiffin goes all the way to Knoxville. And, you know, one industry source did text me that Lane looks desperate doing this. And, yeah, I mean, I think every team right now is desperate without a quarterback. Who does Ole Miss have at quarterback next year? As we saw today, that Trinidad Chambliss will not be with the Land Sharks next year. So the truth is, we don't know. We don't know. But what I can tell you is you should feel better about your quarterback situation today than you did yesterday. Part of all of this, though, and this is what was told to me after Leavitt did not sign with Kentucky, because Kentucky felt awesome about Sam Leavitt. They were the most aggressive. They were the ones to get the first visit. They felt very strong about getting it done with the old Joe Sloan in Lexington and Will Stein, who, of course, is able to now fully focus on his Kentucky Wildcats team. And he didn't sign. And I'm telling you right now, my little birdies in Lexington, I don't have a lot of them. Actually, I only have one. I talked to my number one Kentucky guy. He's covered the team for a long time. And he said that he felt really good about Sam Leavitt, that it wasn't just smoke to draw up interest, that there was some serious talking going on there. But what happened is in Sam Leavitt's camp, which includes his brother and other insiders and all of that, they wanted to go through all their visits, which is smart, right? If you are a very coveted quarterback, go through all your visits, and then the price goes up if people really want you. But if I were Sam Leavitt, you already see all these wide receivers that LSU is bringing in. We'll talk about them here in just a moment. It seems like it's too many wide receivers, and there is another one in Winston Watkins of Ole Miss who entered the portal today. We've told you, just listening to Lane Kiffin talk about Winston Watkins, that this would be a possibility. And ironically, and that's basically the Ole Miss transfer that I think LSU will land. Of course, you want some of their offensive linemen, sure, but Winston Watkins, if you go back, this is just so ironic. And I should have dug the clip, but the Indiana-Oregon game already started, and I was like just locked in on that. You go look at the clip of Lane Kiffin talking about Winston Watkins. He actually got perturbed, jokingly, from a reporter that someone asked him about Winston Watkins because Lane didn't want to talk too glowingly about him because he's afraid someone was going to come poach him from the transfer portal. And it's ironic that Lane is now with a different school trying to do the same thing. But, you know, every single person that does this, including myself, and I'm not a big insider, not Wilson Alexander over here, but everybody's saying, look for Watkins to LSU. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense because LSU got two more. Give me two pair. Nelly style. They got two more wide receivers. It's that LeBron meme. Well, here go two more of them. Crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. Two more are locked in. And we'll talk about them coming up. One from Illinois and one from McNeese. Cowboys. Let's go. So as you can see, I'm in a jovial mood. I did have Indiana winning this game by a lot. Oregon was banged up. Indiana, the way they beat Alabama, it wasn't just the fact that Alabama was a bad team. Indiana really is the real deal. And people are starting to just throw it out there. It's explosive, but I'm going to throw it out there. There have been a few people that have accused him of them being so freaking good, blowing everyone out here, that they're cheating. I don't think that they're cheating at all. I just think that this team is good. They're well coached, and we are learning a lot about the college football transfer portal and how the sport is now. Okay? But a little bit later, I know we're going to get a lot of comments wanting to do the 2019 LSU stuff. I do want to make one final claim about 2019 LSU. It is a good thing that every college football team, until the end of existence, will be compared to 2019 LSU. Every single one. And sometimes the comparisons are stupid, like 2023 Colorado versus 2019 LSU. Shout out FanDuel. They were the one that tweeted out that graphic. But here's the thing about that. Here's the thing I like about that. Is it always keeps that team relevant. They don't do it with 2020 Alabama. And that team was very good. They do it with 2019 LSU. It is the Michael Jordan of college football teams. That's not hyperbole. I'm not the only one that says that's the GOAT team. They don't do that with 2010 Auburn. They don't do that with any of Nick Saban Alabama teams. They do it with 2019 LSU. And why is that relevant? Because guess what? Kids that are born 5 years from now, they're not going to know 2019 LSU. They're not. They're not. Ask a bunch of youngsters if they know who Reggie Bush is right now. They probably don't. Okay? So it's important to keep that in mind. All right? So before we get to any of your comments, I do want to welcome Jimmy. He dropped a very generous super chat, and he's part of our YouTube membership. Good to see you, Jimmy. Once again, we did drop a very nice members-only film study a little bit earlier today. And it was a part of a random film study that we released today on how Charlie Weiss used one play to tear up Michigan's defense in the fourth quarter. It was one play, and he spammed it nonstop. And the play was called Sail. And he did it versus the Hurricanes nonstop. Sail or flood. And you also technically classify this play as flood, but he used sail. And every single team uses sail. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. I love sail. I think every team should run sail. Because guess what? Every team already runs sail. So even though I think every team should run it, every team does run it. So if you just happen to be a team that doesn't run sail, what the hell are you doing? It's one of my favorite plays to break down in all of film study. Let's go to Sibley. It's a lesson from this season is that we should drop the star system for player evaluation and return to blue chip versus non-blue chip as the metric. Okay? Yes, we should rethink blue chip ratio. I don't think blue chip ratio is a thing that we should put in the rear view, because most of the teams that have made it to the college football playoff have ridiculously good blue chip ratio. And you have to keep this in mind that Georgia did lose, and I do think Kirby is the only coach good enough to outwit Kurt Cignetti. And what did I say? I picked Miami to win, and I picked Indiana to win. This national championship will be the biggest mismatch in actual coaching technical ability since Les Miles versus Nick Saban in the worst day of our careers. Okay? And coaching matters so much. Management matters, scouting, all of that matters. But the single most important thing that really does matter is buy-in. There are so many guys on this Indiana team that do their specific role well. And if we're going to be honest, even Mendoza's numbers are not crazy. They're very good. They're ridiculously efficient, but they're not crazy. But they're old. Okay? Welcome to the membership, Jonathan. Oh, Jonathan. Oh, God. This family photo just hit me right here, man. Jonathan, you're a super dad at PHL. Appreciate it. I love seeing a lovely family. Dads, you are more important now than ever. Okay? Be there. It is important to have that nuclear family. Guess what? Went over to the old man's house tonight. Got to watch the game with my father for a little bit. Had a good spaghetti dinner made by my mother. I'm very fortunate. And father-in-laws are important. Coming up on the 1-year anniversary that I lost my father-in-law. I was very close to him. He meant the world to me. And he was opposite in every way from my dad. And that meant so much to me. It was a perfect scenario for me. Okay. So if you're a dad, you're a father-in-law, you're a godfather, grandfather, I will always stop a live stream when I see a good family photo with the super chat. It matters. It freaking matters. And mothers too. LA Mom says, I think Indiana's going to win it all. But to the blue chip ratio thing, I should have interrupted that, but you guys don't. There's things more important than football. Yes, you're right about that, Sibley. But overall, the coaching matters. Like, this was Kirby's, to me, worst team at Georgia. I really do think so. At least since 2019, where he was in the SEC championship. 2020 doesn't count, and then he had the super teams. And 21, 22, 23, one of the best 3-year runs in college football history. Where it was Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, who's every bit as good as Glenn Dorsey, N'Kobe Dean, Lewis Cine, on and on and on. And you guys know I do a lot of Georgia breakdowns on the SEC channel. But now these teams just aren't as deep. They don't have a pass rusher. And I'm telling you right now, I understand that we are all in arms about who our next quarterback is going to be. And we're tired of hearing about defensive commitments. And we're tired of hearing about wide receivers. I hate going back to that, but we have brought in a metric F ton of wide receivers. But I'm telling you right now, you're going to look at me crazy when I say this, but a year from now, you will know the name Jordan Ross, who committed to LSU today. And why that commitment is so important is because I haven't seen what Chaz Coleman has done. We were after him. Jordan Ross is a former 5-star. He was at Tennessee, and he got to work. Tennessee's defensive line coach is really good. Remember, Tennessee's defensive lines, they have produced Byron Young. They have produced James Pierce. Both of them are studs in the NFL. Byron Young tore our asses up in 2022. And then we all know James Pierce is just unreal. Okay. So he got to be a part of that culture. And now he's coming over here. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of the Bama film study guys, this guy named Clint Lamb, he's very sharp, was like, dude, I need Alabama to go all out for this guy. And we landed him today. But Carter, I need to know about Sam Leavitt right now. Okay? And you're right. The single most important for us is the most important position for us right now is quarterback. Got to get 2 of them. Then it's the offensive line. But when it comes to the quarterback position, what is the third position that matters the most when it comes to affecting the quarterback? It's a pass rusher. It's how the guys get paid in the NFL. Quarterback, left tackle, pass rusher. It's just how it works. So what if Ross is untapped potential? There's not a lot of 5-star edge rushers that are just ass. Felt pretty good. Felt pretty freaking good to get that. Okay? So, we did a 4-hour stream yesterday, and I didn't do the world's most famous segment, which is what did Lane tweet today? But we'll get to that a little bit later. Let me make sure I write that down. I saw a few of you concerned about a Trade Desk Green Instagram post. I don't think you should worry about that, okay? Let's see what he didn't. It was. I would be more concerned about Trade Desk Green as a 5-star if he didn't have at least one cryptic social media post. It wasn't anything crazy, though. This is a high school kid, Ismail Kamara, was on campus today for a visit. So this was one of the pickups today. Josh Jackson, 3-star wide receiver from New Orleans, Louisiana. 20 catches for 258 yards this past season. So why would you even bring in this guy? Well, depth. And also, he probably wanted to live the dream of playing for LSU. So part of why I like bringing in someone like this is he's coming in here with no ego. Almost every single wide receiver that was brought in is coming here as part of a business transaction, right? I'm coming to LSU to showcase my talents. Where Jackson's probably going to come into this as, man, I owe LSU everything. I was a 3-star. I caught 20 balls last year, and LSU was giving me the opportunity. I'm going to bleed for LSU. I'm going to die for LSU. I'm going to go out there and do the damn thing for LSU. So, Josh, just know I'm going to believe in you. Okay? And they also brought in a wide receiver, Malik Elzy. 16 catches for 213 yards and 2 touchdowns in 3 years with the Illini. Kind of strange. But bring him in. Look, he's rocking a single digit, number 8. That's a good wide receiver number. But Jordan Ross, this is who we were talking about a minute ago. All right. Y'all, it is so important to take a look at what the LSU defense was last year. We had really good defensive end play. Good, solid, run-setting defensive ends. We just had issues at the defensive tackle position in stopping the run. But we need to take swings at these pass rushing specimens. Okay? 23 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks. Okay? We need to take swings. It's okay to take swings. I don't care if he doesn't work out. This is one that it's worth not only getting, but paying for. Okay? You don't know what's going to happen. Okay? Then Aaron Scott Jr., we talked about this. Transfer cornerback set to come to LSU in the near future. Okay? And then obviously we talked about this yesterday. If you want to see it, it is linked down below. Okay? You know, I think a lot of you are concerned about quarterback. One thing that I feel when it comes to this is, yes, it is true that Leavitt seems indecisive, that Leavitt is not committed to a school. All right. But this cycle, there has been so much transfer portal drama with all the quarterbacks. Damon Williams, there was drama. A lot of it. Okay. And I'm kind of happy that didn't happen. And I know it sounds backwards, but, with everything that unfolded, he is a bit on the younger scale anyway. He's only going to be entering year 3. Leavitt's going to be a guy with an actual college football playoff start and good film from last year. So we get someone with 2 full years of starts who has a taste of playing on the road in the SEC this past year versus Mississippi State. I just feel Leavitt is a better fit for what we were going to have. I still like Sorsby better, but it wasn't big. I think Sorsby and Leavitt have always been, I know they've always been my top 2 guys. Lane just reposted DJ Lagway visiting Ole Miss. So I want to talk about the Lagway drama as well. He is explaining to everyone that he is committed to Baylor. He's committed, not signed. I would hate that if I was Baylor. You mean to tell me I'm holding my spot for you so you can go visit other schools when the transfer quarterback market is scarce? Indiana still, they already got their guy, but Miami still needs a guy. And part of why you need to try and close is, what if DJ Moore says, look, I say DJ Moore. I almost said Justin Moore. So we go from the NFL to country music, and then we go to, what if Dante Moore says, F it, I want to go be a New York Jet. I want to experience what I experienced tonight, but way worse with Aaron Glenn. That's what I want to do. What if he likes to do that? In Oregon, with Dan Lanning, is left with no quarterback. Do we really want to compete with Oregon for Sam Leavitt? So we're kind of in a tough spot. And I will repeat this until I'm blue in the face. Is it true that LSU has always had Sam Leavitt high on their board? Yeah, I've heard that. But LSU really wanted Sorsby. And I've confirmed this. His actual agent has said this. LSU gave the best presentation. Okay. What I said was LSU put a full court press on Sorsby. They made sure Weiss was there. All of it. And then Sorsby's representation says, hey, we did better than everyone else when it comes to convincing Brendan Sorsby to come. Okay. So keep that in mind. Okay. Let's go to Benny. Sup, Carter? Be honest. Did you laugh a little when Ole Miss lost last night? Yes. A lot, actually. I did find it funny that the guy that talked the most trash about Lane Kiffin was the defensive tackle who was on the ground and had the wide open gap for Carson Beck to run through. I thought that was hilarious. I really did. But at the same time, they're Ole Miss. I feel bad. I have friends that work there, friends that live in Oxford. Is there a piece of me that feels bad? Sure. So I've heard this, that Ross Dellinger is hated by LSU fans. So I know Blake has that opinion. Blake's one of my best buddies. We've talked about it. I am not close with Ross Dellinger, but we're friends. Or friendly, I guess. Why do you feel that way? I just want to ask, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel like Delly doesn't like LSU? Okay, hit piece after hit piece. So what were the hit pieces? Let's take a look at this. The hit pieces were releasing the Sorsby contract details. That to me didn't really read like a hit piece. It really didn't. I thought it was illuminating. I didn't like that was out there. And then the second one was, what is Damon Williams reporting? It's the biggest story in the sport. That story is as much about Damon Williams as it is about LSU. So maybe I'm missing something. You think Delly doesn't like Lane? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I really, really, really don't know. But I don't know if he dislikes LSU. I really don't. Let's go to TMB 2757. If trusted with info that could be sensitive, keep it confidential. So I'll share a few things about that. So I have a journalism degree, but I am not a journalist. Are there times where I've been given very sensitive information about player injuries and all of that? Times, yes. Absolutely. There was a transfer, it was a few years ago, that had a small injury, and I didn't even release that. It wasn't anything truly breathtaking. It was more of like a rotational guy. So, yeah, but I'm not a journalist. Ross Dellinger is a journalist. He's not an LSU fan. It's not his job to look out for the best of LSU. And I have no reason to defend the guy. None. But then again, I'm also one of those guys that doesn't freak out over stuff. Last night we had the biggest organization, the biggest basically independent institution in sports media do direct things that piss Lane Kiffin off. Lane's already forgiven him. Okay, but I just think being mad at the media is just something that we have to do. But look, I understand not everyone feels that way. So if you want to get mad at Ross, sure. Lane did call him out at the press conference. I thought that was good. Okay, I thought that was good. But if you want, I could ask Delly to come on here. Yeah, no, you don't have, like I said, you do not have to like him. You don't have to like me to watch me. There's a lot of people that hate watch me. A lot. And I'm not the number one LSU channel when it comes to hate watchers. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I appreciate reporters that are willing to get in the bushes. So we've had a few of those on here. I don't know if I'd ever do that. I kind of miss, though, like being objective journalists at all times, not a fanalist, if you will. But it's funny because I try to bring objective LSU analysis. Like if Lane does something bad, I'm going to tell you if Lane does something bad. So there you go. Now, coming up next, what I learned over the past 48 hours that I feel should be important for all the new people that have come in here. Quick break, and we'll be back right after this. Power Hour Network listeners and viewers, you might be consuming this content with that crick in your back that you've been trying to get rid of for so long. Take this as your sign today to book your appointment with LabordTherapy.com. In the Lafayette region, there is no one that you will find that cares more about any different type of pain that you might have than the team at LabordTherapy.com. Book today. Once again, that's LABORDE therapy.com, or you can visit one of their 5 locations all throughout the Lafayette region. All right, it's time for everybody's favorite segment. What did Lane tweet today? We start off with one that is hot off the presses. And remember when Ole Miss fans are trying to convince us that Juice Kiffin wasn't Lane's dog? Here's the thing. I think every single human being that is in a multi-million-dollar position of power should have a dog. It teaches you responsibility. It teaches you care. It teaches you companionship. And every time I hear of a coach, a leader of a major business, a politician, or anyone, if you don't have a dog, I think very differently of you. That's how radical I've gone on the dog spectrum. You want to know why I eat at Raising Cane's all the time? I know that the dog Kane is the brains behind the entire operation. You want to know why I shout out Gig Gordon? It's not because of him. It's not because he's funded all our athletes. He's willing to put his dogs out there. And look at that beautiful face. Look at that beautiful face. Lane retweeted Landon Clark on an official visit to the Big House. And then he retweeted Landon Clark on an official visit to Tiger Stadium. Lane retweets Ryan Clark. And we'll take some time.
Change the perception of who Ole Miss was.
We'll take some time on this one, and we'll get back to Lane's tweets. Trinidad Chambliss didn't get the waiver today. That was pretty obvious for anyone that was following along with this. And there was a lot of quarterbacks trying to do it. Okay. So based on everything I have heard regarding the NCAA, they did not like that they lost that Pavia case last year, which was Pavia's JUCO years didn't count and he was able to get an extra year of eligibility. Okay. So the NCAA wasn't going to further let the toothpaste get out of the tube. And they were all over these QBs trying to get an extra year. Whether it's TJ Finley, who we don't know is going to get an extra year. Chandler Morris was trying to get a 7th year, didn't get it. And then obviously Chambliss today. So it's a big story. Ole Miss needs to go get a quarterback. They had already known that this wasn't going to happen. But you shouldn't feel bad for Chambliss because he was a quarterback of the go-to-hell university, and he's going to be a first-round pick. So I truly do believe it's better for Chambliss to go pro, and it's good for the sport that he didn't get that extra year. Okay? It's really good. Now, we go back to Lane's tweets. We do it always 30 minutes, or roughly 30 minutes into every show. Get it? Roughly 30 minutes into every show. So Lane tweeted this out, obviously. There's a little extra trollish vibes with this. Tweeting out Tennessee Orange. I've heard of Mel Robbins, the let them theory. That's the book he's reading right now. And then Lane tweeted out this tiger, the Jay Johnson tiger. This is funny. We got 40 wide receivers. Hopefully this tweet secures somebody who can actually throw them the ball. International Chubbs. Diehard PHLer, by the way. And this was Lane confirming he was in Knoxville earlier today. Okay? Can't show that clip. Talked about this. Paul Bissonnette of Barstool is now a big LSU fan. Jonathan tweets out, "Dear God, this could be the best defense in the history of college football." Which it won't be, but Lane said it's rat poison. Ben Mid-Story, we talked about it all night, last night. The pass interference call, yeah, this should have been pass interference. Okay? Should have been pass interference. Okay? And then this was the big tweet. We covered it last night. We'll go ahead and get into it tonight. Actually, no, we didn't. No, we got to this one. Amazing effort and grit. Ole Miss football, the best season ever in the history of Ole Miss. Love you guys. So there you go. We talked about Malik Blockton yesterday. Defensive tackle coming over from Auburn. H-Town says, I guarantee you no NFL team will waste a first-round pick on Chambliss. Now, I disagree. I think that you could definitely see him get selected. Look, especially if Dante Moore comes back. You know, people said the same thing about Jackson Dart last year. And he was the best rookie quarterback outside of my mother effing Tyler Shuck. My mother Shuck and Shuck. But I think Trinidad will go first round. I think there's a very good chance he could. NFL's a copycat league. Give me a dual threat quarterback that can extend the play. Give me a dual threat quarterback that worked in the same system as Dart did. And Dart was phenomenal. The only problem is he didn't protect himself, and he took so many big hits. Concussions galore. But it's going to be interesting what Dante Moore does tonight. Now, you wonder why I was in a good mood today? You want to know why? My dear beloved New Orleans Pelicans got to win tonight. That's the single most important thing. Derek Queen, triple-double. Kevin, welcome to the channel. That was not PI when it could be called on the ORD. It's a good no call. Yeah, I didn't see offensive pass interference there. Okay. Now let's go to TMB. Carter, serious question because I'm not sure exactly rules on portal. Could Lane sign some big-time players in the portal, have the agents NDA on signings, and then Lane pops out 10 to 15 players named signed? Yeah, he could. But there's a reason why agents want to get out when a kid signs as soon as possible. Because, number one, the agent wants Pete Nakos to tweet out their agency. And then number two, teams want it out there that they've signed this person. Okay? Make it official. Because then that kid is more likely to not try and back out, to not deal with the backlash. But I get your point. Now, could you have a bunch of Tristan Lee situations where a kid is signed and then he still goes on the other visits to just toy with the other schools and the kid gets a free trip to visit Michigan? Like Landon Clark. What if he already signed with LSU and he's like, you know what, Lane? Don't announce it. Don't leak it. I want to go see the big house. Sure. But, yeah, I do think that happens, though. Let's see. Now, really quickly, when it comes to LSU athletics, I do want to shout out Flage and the LSU women's basketball team. She tweeted out a photo of her swollen ankle, and that deserves praise. I don't want to just hop into March Madness and just become a women's basketball channel. We do it every year. But God, that was not a must win, but borderline must win to get it done versus Georgia. And Flage played one of the best games of her career, knowing the circumstances after getting goose egged versus Vanderbilt. So shout out to you, Flage Johnson. Okay. Let's go to Reed Pellegrin. That's a great suit. Do you remember an offseason that's been this stressful and on the edge of the seat? Yeah, lots of them. Last year was very stressful. I don't think it was as stressful as this one. The first year going into Brian Kelly was really stressful because we didn't know who the quarterback was going to be, and that's where we are right now. So, yeah, there's different levels of stress. And I cannot stress enough that going into this next year, there was one singular thing on the minds of LSU fans. Beat Clemson. That was every single discussion that we did on these streams. Beat Clemson. Just do whatever. Beat Clemson. But y'all, it's not just about beating Clemson. It's not. It's not. No one game means anything anymore. It just doesn't. Unless you're Indiana and you go undefeated. Miami lost to SMU. Miami lost to Louisville. Bob and Dellinger are lovers. Are they, Dane? Are you breaking some news? The 1-0 shirts should have been a sign. Well, in fairness, that was the whole mantra of the season was 1-0. And it worked. It worked. Okay. Now, I just don't know. And CJ Jackson has committed a defensive end for LSU. He's committed to Vanderbilt. Interesting. He played sparingly this past year. So there you go. Doug says his source, my guy I told you about, says 2 QB booms next week. Are we talking about like an AJ? What's his name? AJ and Big Luca or whatever? With the Costco chicken bake? Boom! Boom! All right. Here's the thing about the quarterback speculation. Do you really think there's not going to be a single quarterback? Let's just say everybody is not picked up. Okay. Do you not think there's a single quarterback out there that says, you know what? I should just go to LSU. What if DJ Langway still hasn't made a decision or still hasn't signed? Would he be the worst thing in the world for LSU? No. No. But I will say it would take some buy-in. It would take a little bit more humbling on his end. I got a few more topics, but I'm going to take a few more comments here. Why you think nobody signed Leavitt yet? We got to sign 2 backups first, then Sam. It's chess, not checkers, homie. With all these studs, Rhett Morgan, class of 31, could pitch and catch to these boys, bro. Shout out Rhett Morgan, class of 2031. And that's recruiting early. Okay. Stanley says, why did we lose several offensive linemen? Well, some of it is because they just weren't good. But a lot of it is Lane probably would have taken a lot of the offensive linemen back that left. But they were Brad Davis recruits, and they were just ready for something new. But also at the same time, one thing that was explained to me, and this has actually played itself out as well, is when a coach sees a guy play in person, they will remember that performance more than like the overall total picture. I always share the story about how Jimbo was so convinced that Max Johnson was that guy after what Max did to him in Ed Orgeron's last game, because he saw him live. Max threw one of the best throws we've ever seen at LSU to Jeray Jenkins to win the game. So if I'm Lane and I watched my defensive line literally penetrate every single snap, why would I want any of those offensive linemen? Okay? It's crazy to me. Okay? And I'm sympathetic because they could have just had a bad coach, could have just been a bad scheme, could have been all those things. All right. This is the next thing I want to get to. It's not LSU related, but it does help LSU. The discussion of the 16-team playoff. So Heather Dinich of ESPN is the single most well-known college football playoff insider. Okay? So Heather Dinich gets a big salary every year to just cover the playoff. She really doesn't cover the sport. She covers a playoff, which is smart. The team and the network that owns the playoff should have a reporter with good chops like Heather Dinich to cover the playoff. So what she says holds a little extra weight. All right, there's certain reporters that have their thing that they know about. All right, Brett McMurphy is the bowl guy. He is always first at reporting the bowls that are not the playoffs. And almost gets it right every single time. Actually, he does get it right every single time. Okay? And Dinich said earlier today that a 16-team playoff could be in store for next year. And guess what? That helps LSU. Because historically, we are not at Georgia, we are not in Alabama, we are not in Ohio State, where we are in that top 8 every single year. Overall, we're mostly in the teens. Okay? So, for her to say that is a good thing for LSU. That is a very good thing. And then they're having discussions about all the first-round games being home games. Well, that's the case now. Can we have the second-round games all be home games? You could see that. So, the truth is that there are 2 powerful people that decide this. It's Greg Sankey and it's Tony Petitti. All right, that is the commissioner of the SEC. That, of course, for the Big Ten is Petitti. So why is that valuable? Well, it just gives you more wiggle room to get in. It just does. But is that a good thing for the sport? A 16-team playoff? No. I'm anti-expansion. I don't like expansion. I think one thing that ESPN will hammer home, hey, the first round bye teams are 1-7 in the first couple of rounds. The layoff is just too long. And we're penalizing them because they have the layoff and they lose the first round home gate revenue. Sure. And that's a great argument. I'm here for it. But it doesn't mean we should devalue this beautiful regular season even more. I'm happy that at the end of the season, everyone could look at Texas and say, yeah, Texas is really good. They are really, really, really good. But are they great? Do we want to get Texas in here for almost losing on the road versus a bad Kentucky team? For a miracle comeback versus a bad Mississippi State team? They played more mid football than great football. And so many people just kept bitching and moaning about the Ohio State game. And I give Texas a lot of credit. You got to have some gonads to schedule Ohio State in week 1. But I'm glad. I am so glad that Texas didn't get in. Because it's good for the sport. Would it have been nice to have Diego Pavia in the playoff? Yeah, it would have been great. But they lost 2 games. They had a good shot. Beat Texas or beat Alabama, you're in. Okay? And I think they'll fix the group of 5 stuff. They do need to revisit the Notre Dame stuff. But a 16-team playoff helps LSU. So you should want it if your entire lens of the sport of college football centers around LSU getting into the playoff or not. But one other reason why, for me, I'm a little bit more pro 16-team playoff is because of LSU's 9-game conference schedule. Okay? It's going to make it harder. And it would be nice for SEC teams to have a little bit more wiggle room. Now, there's something else that is happening as far as the national college football landscape is concerned. And if you're new here, we've got a bunch of new viewers. These late night streams, it's so cool. It says it has 812 people watching. We have 300 on YouTube. It's awesome that you're here. My job is to captivate you every night. I am never going to sell you short on a live stream. Never. Okay? The SEC versus Big Ten argument. Or just the argument that the SEC, this is the 3rd consecutive year we're not going to win a natty. So on and so on. Well, what if a more simple explanation as to why the SEC's not done better is Carson Beck? What if it's just that simple? Year 1, Carson Beck lost the SEC championship in a game that Georgia shouldn't have lost to an overrated Alabama team. Kirby got outcoached by the one guy who could truly outcoach him in Nick Saban. Alabama won. They wrongly got into the playoff over Florida State. And we know what happened versus Michigan. That Georgia team was really hurt. And they lost that game. They were upset in that game. And it was a close game. Georgia probably would have won the Natty that year. I think Georgia was better than Michigan. Hell, they beat a team in a bowl game 63-3. Then the next year, Carson Beck tore up his elbow in the SEC championship game. Does that Georgia team win the Natty? I don't know. It was a really good Georgia team. Really, really, really good. Okay, they didn't have Brock Bowers, but they were still very good. Then, last year or this year that we're in right now, Carson Beck sends home Ole Miss and sends home Texas A&M. What if it is just one quarterback that has caused this narrative? Could be. But we discussed this yesterday, and it's going to have further discussion. One thing I'll say about Oregon, and one thing I'll say about Indiana, is even though Oregon got shellacked tonight, I do think the players are not only great, they're smart. They're really, really, really smart. These Indiana players are older. And a lot of these SEC teams, say Georgia, say us, we were just playing so many young guys. Let's take Brian Kelly's roster mentality going into 2024. And I am more than happy to bring up things that I was totally wrong about, such as Garrett Nussmeier having a good season in 2025. I was wrong about that. I was convinced Garrett was going to find a way to make this work. There's things I miss all the time. But going into 2024, I kept telling you, we do not have a good roster, in particular on defense. I told you that, and it happened. We were an 8-14, basically. Okay? So what happened? Well, not only was our team not great, we were playing so many 3-stars as true freshmen, true sophomores, and that is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. Take Oregon tonight. I referenced this a little bit earlier. They're young guys who have played bulletproof football over the past couple of weeks. Well, they were torched tonight by older 23-year-old guys. So what are the changes that need to be made? Well, quit recruiting high school. I wouldn't go that far, but you seriously need to consider what exactly is your plan in terms of building a roster. Okay? The next thing is, can we recruit smarter football players? Now, LSU has had quite a few cerebral players, okay? A.J. Halsey is one of them. He processes information really fast. Look at his DJ Lagway interception. One of the 5 Lagway threw that night. That was an amazing drive on the football. Good work, good use of process of elimination. But A.J. Halsey has played a lot of football. Okay? We had a lot of guys out there that struggled with processing, doing their jobs, playing for the team. A mixture of all of it. Picking up playbooks. What's this thing I should do in this spot compared to what I should do in other spots? Okay? Can we find the football players that execute at a high level, not only physically, but mentally? We have got to be more buttoned up. Part of why Lane is such a great coach is he does a good job of simplifying stuff for his players. And Golding did a good job of this as well defensively. They went really fast. All right. If you made a big play offensively, the wide receiver would immediately run the football to the referee. Okay. Not all these first down celebrations. Oh, you got a first down. Guess what? There's going to be at least 12 more of these in the game. Score a touchdown. That's when you could celebrate. Ole Miss every time. It's drilled. And when you do that, it keeps all of your players under one simple rule. What's the next play? What's the next thing I need to do? It really simplifies things. Then you hurry up, you get to the line of scrimmage. Next play, next play, next play. I need to get to my next assignment. I need to see what the defense is doing to me now. All right? Our players need to be smarter. All right? some of that is youth. And I'm not saying we had a dumb team. Someone put dumb in there. I don't like using that word. But a lot of our better teams had really smart players. Like Dante Jackson, when he played any position, there was no letdown. And Stanley, it's not just about finding the toughest and hardest workers too. Like you like take Oregon for instance. They brought in the biggest me guy on the planet in Bear Alexander. JT Lindsay visiting Ole Miss. The only ones really tampering and pulling players from their previous team was Ole Miss, Frank Wilson. Penn State's coach rated 19 players from his old team. Do they? Well, I don't know, Jesse, because that's not what happened. But they should have lost. Like I had Georgia as a 9-3 team, borderline 8-4. And that was a bad take going into the season. But I truly think that I was sound. Okay. All right. Did I shave my chest? Someone said this on Twitter. Well, Blake was the one that that challenged me to do it. And I said, yeah, I wasn't going to tell him no. He put me on the spot. So yeah, it's up to Rufino when we're going to do that. But yeah, I'm going to do it. Sure. I'm at the lightest weight. I'm in the 180s now. Now I did have my mother's spaghetti. And I freestyled after that. Anyway, I almost ran 8 miles today too. You look at that's a lame. I need to go jump into an erupting volcano full of electric eels. No stone is unturned this portal cycle. Okay. I want to talk about one more thing that I think will change next year. Let me get a sip. Yeah, mind if I get a sip of my Sprizzle? This was my bachelor's trip. I got one for all the people in my bachelor's party. Let's ride. Oh. All right. I was saving this take. And I was going to save it till after the portal closed. Okay. But I don't think people quite understand how ridiculous this portal cycle has been. And the thing that really changed all of it isn't the 3,500 players that were in the transfer portal at the beginning of it. And it wasn't that there's still college football happening. The thing that really changed it is that there's only one cycle. Okay? Imagine what our team would have looked like this year if we did not bring in A.J. Halsey. Like, that was one of the biggest needle-moving transfers in the past 5 years at LSU. And we're just probably not that good of a team. I really do think so. Like, I think Halsey was that valuable to our operation. And that was the spring window where you got to see a full session of spring football. And you said, yeah, Deshaun is a great player. Cooley, great player. Gilbert, yeah. We can win with these guys, but we got a young safeties coach. Let's go get an adult. A guy that we know has played in Tiger Stadium before on a group of 5 team as a true freshman and had a big game versus Jaden Daniels. Let's go get that guy out of Houston. We're probably not that good of a team. That was a spring portal addition. We also brought in Bernard Gooden. He was good. He was good. There's only one portal cycle. So what you get is what you get. There's no waivers, none of that. You have got to get somebody. Okay? We are a week away from this bad boy closing. That was a belt to ass by Indiana. It was. I love the NFL. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm a Jaguars guy. I do Jaguar videos every week. Okay. Now, let's talk about a Jaguar. Let's talk about 2 Jaguars. So, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Trey Holly announced that he's back with Southern this year. We did pick up a safety in Traylon James, 6'3", 190. Madison Prep, okay. I believe that's where Quincy Wiggins went. Went to Prairie View A&M, transferred to Southern. 40 tackles, 1 sack, 7 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles. 2 years of eligibility left? Sure. Let's go, man. You guys know how important safety was for me to be addressed in this portal cycle. Okay? Draft Mendoza. Or Chambliss. I think Chambliss could be good in the NFL. But a lot of you don't. That's okay. Not the biggest guy. I do think he has enough of an arm to get it done. I do. So, since we are somewhat winding down, I don't know if we're going to do a 3.5-hour one again. I think a lot of us are still buzzing after that Ole Miss game. We'll basically just go through all of these. We talked about Jaquan Sprinkle yesterday. Played offensive tackle. I feel he is more of a guard. Malik Elzy, the wide receiver. We talked about him a minute ago. Jordan Ross, a defensive line alongside Jaylen Brown. These are 2 different types of players. Brown's a little bit more of a thicker type of defensive end at 6'5". Jordan Ross, one of your more lankier ends. 245 is a little bit heavier than I would have thought. Probably the most underrated pickup to cycle up to this point is Jordan Ross. Mac Mulhorn, Malik Blockton, and Hayden Craig. Obviously, Hayden Craig, the punter coming over from Florida. Mac Mulhorn, remember LSU brought in, specialists from Florida in terms of coaching. Malik Blockton, defensive lineman. Trey Brown, Eugene Wilson, Jace Brown. Very nicely done there. And I feel as if this commitment, Rod Gainey Jr., is a perfect way to describe what the current era is like. Okay. Rod Gainey's numbers are not great. They aren't. But you're bringing them in because you need depth. The portal is kind of becoming a thing where it literally is your thing as much as high school recruiting. Your roster is gutted. You need a few bodies in there. 6 foot, 175. I believe he has one carry over 15 yards in his career. I think that's what I remember. Watch Rod Gainey take off in the Kiffin system. Rod, prove me wrong, man. I am your hater. And I cheer for every LSU player. Stephylan Green, defensive lineman out of Clemson. Ty Benefield, who I like a lot. These are two players I think will play a lot next year for LSU. Stephylan Green, very underrated. Malachi Thomas, a tight end. We're trying to get another tight end on campus on top of Malachi Thomas. We have Racing Guillory. We talked about him a little bit earlier. And Jackson Harris, one of the 4,556 receivers that LSU has brought in this cycle. Malachi Thomas, 3-star tight end at a Pitt. Tape is good, man. Tape is good with him. Yeah, Jace Brown is a fun player to watch. He really is. One thing, someone mentioned the cryptic Trade S. Green post from earlier. And I don't think it was really that cryptic. I really don't. Maybe there's more to it. I'll pull it up. I just don't think it's really anything. All right, like most athletes don't have like these long drawn out kind of like descriptions. He said LSU, thank you. That's what it said. All right. It doesn't say LSU, I'm leaving or anything like that. He's just probably thanking LSU. And this catch was insane. Crazy. Go Cairo. There we go. Yeah, I don't think it's anything crazy. Denzel Boston of Washington, he is good. He is very good, a wide receiver. But I can't get down with that because I'm a Yankees fan. Here's a name that has been brought up a good bit. in the portal cycle. Longstreet. I love that name. Husson Longstreet. Or is it Houston? I really don't know. I've not really sat down and watched him because I've just been so much into the Leavitt thing. 5-star prospect, the 6th quarterback ranked in this portal cycle. Makes a lot of sense. You've already redshirted, and Maiev is a guy there. So what happens? Man, I just don't know. I guess I got to go watch him. You know, like I was watching prospects, and I was like, I kind of want to do a video from last night's game. I think a lot of you are tired of like the kind of prospect videos. So he threw for 103 yards, a touchdown, no picks. Only played in 4 games this year. That's a good question by you, Bane. I think centers don't go high, so I think he'll be back. I do. Mm. Nakos just reported Sam on his way to Miami. Saw Weston Davis today. Hope he could turn it around next season. Dude looks the part, that's for sure. Yeah, well, his value goes way up for next year's team. I really do think if I were to poll most of you and ask, hey, which one of these offensive linemen do you not want back that played over 300 snaps? I think most of you would have said Weston Davis, and he is the one that ends up staying out of all of them, outside of course, Moore. It was bad. I mean, there's just no other way around it. But sometimes it clicks over an off season. Maybe it's a change in scenery. Tommy Karam wouldn't have liked that ambiguous post. I really don't think it was meant to be ambiguous, though. I really, really, really don't think so. Like, I think he was just thanking LSU. All right. We're going to go ahead and squeeze in the second break. I waited a full hour. We'll be right back after this. PHL Nation, it's time to lock in and get serious really quickly with our friends at Fortified Gulf Coast and FortifiedGulf.com. This is my buddy Ramey. He is one of many Fortified Gulf Coast inspection professionals that are doing something to help you not only save your home, but your memories.
The Fortified program got started about 13 years ago. We adopted it here in New Orleans about 2.5 years ago. It's a more advanced way of doing the roof. It adds an extra layer of protection, whereas even if a hurricane was to pull the shingles off this roof, water will still not get into the house.
So yes, your establishment is important, but what about the things you can't replace? That family scrapbook or that painting that's been handed down from Meemaw to Papaw and to you. It is important to protect that today with Fortified Roofing. And while this seems like a priceless asset, did you know it can actually save you on your homeowner's insurance up to 37% if you are in South Louisiana? Just call the number 504-444-7563. That's 504-444-7563, or visit FortifiedGulf.com. That's FortifiedGulf.com. Let's go. Power Hour Network listeners and viewers, you might be consuming this content with that crick in your back that you've been trying to get rid of for so long. Take this as your sign today to book your appointment with LabordTherapy.com. In the Lafayette region, there is no one that you will find that cares more about any different type of pain that you might have than the team at LabordTherapy.com. Book today. Once again, that's LABORDE therapy.com, or you can visit one of their 5 locations all throughout the Lafayette region. Alrighty. I want to talk about Todd Grace because I referenced him a little bit earlier. Okay. So, when we were talking about dogs, have a confession. We all have our shows that we watch. We all have our piece of content that we consume every single day. Okay. And we got a super chat here from Guitar George. I'll get to it in a minute. And Guitar George, he understands. And I listen to Colin Cowherd every day. I do. I listen to his 11 a.m. Central, his opening rant, then I turn it off and get back to work. It's just something I do. I like the way he does things. I'm a solo host, and he does have a co-host, by the way, and a team of producers. But, I've been compared to him before. I have his book. I have both his books. One of them's autographed. And one day I'll be hired by The Volume. That's my dream, to get to The Volume. And it's interesting. He made a sly remark about NIL funding, how in the SEC there's oil money with the Texas schools. And he said LSU's biggest donor and supporter is an insurance salesman. And he was referencing Gordon. Okay. And I don't think it was meant to be disrespectful. I obviously don't think LSU's broke. I mean, look at the salaries we've doled out for coaches, buyouts. We're not any of that. But I saw a friend of the show, Daily Joy, I tweeted out towards Sam Leavitt, hey, I'm not going to take you to supper club. I'll take you to Phil's. And Daily Joy is very busy. We need to get her back on pretty soon. She responded to my tweet, hey, Carter, I'll go in with you. So it's going to be me, Daily Joy, and Sam Leavitt. If he chooses to agree, we're taking him to Phil's. Okay. And Daily Joy said she was going to get the hush puppies. I'll cover the bill. Okay. Whatever you want, Sam. And, I was thinking about Todd a little bit earlier because Todd is worth $22 billion. Now, a lot of that is stock. Okay. But, I get so many messages about Todd. Like, why isn't he becoming the super donor, the Larry Ellison of LSU football? Because in a lot of these instances, what is the return on investment for the person that's given the money? Well, a lot of it is an influx of money in Baton Rouge if the team is good. Okay, but Todd has restaurants all over the country. All right, he's got NIL deals with all these players with different teams. He sponsors all these different NFL teams. He has a huge, ginormous ad spend with the Dallas Cowboys and Post Malone. Ginormous. He's got a huge ad spend with the New Orleans Saints. Todd has only been good. There's never really been anything negative regarding Todd Graves. But I do get a lot of messages. Well, why can't we have Todd Graves? I saw Daily Joy tweet out, and it was hilarious because Mark Cuban just made a huge NIL donation to Indiana, and Daily Joy said, Mark, have you ever had gumbo? So, yeah, would it be nice if Todd says, F all these schools, I'm an LSU guy from BR. Even though I've spent time elsewhere, I'm putting $50 million to the LSU team every year. And the Canes lines would be longer than they already are. So, yeah, rich people, just because they're rich doesn't mean that even though it makes sense, that they're going to do it. Okay? And I know a lot about the Arkansas Razorbacks. Went to high school in Arkansas. I cover Arkansas on the SEC channel. And they do the same thing. Arkansas, Tyson Chicken, big chicken plant up there. They went and bought John Calipari. The chicken guy went over the head of the AD, went and flew his jet to go get Cal, and that's how it happened. Tyson Chicken. But Walmart has bajillions of dollars. They spend it all in Northwest Arkansas. Shouldn't Walmart be inspired with what Indiana did? Could you imagine Walmart funding Arkansas? Are you kidding me? The Walton family, they're Razorback fans. Well, they just bought the Broncos, right? But yeah, it makes sense. But does Walmart need any help with business? I mean, have you ever not seen people in Sam's? Have you not? They don't even give you bags at Sam's. Hey, here's a carton to put your 30-pack of razors and 15-pack of milkshakes and your 20-pack of Bavita crackers and a random Hurley pair of pants and 30 steaks, 30 shrimp, a 20-pack of dish soap. How does that even happen? How does that business even work? Oh, yeah, you got to pay to enter. What the hell is this business model? And once again, no bags. They frisk you on the way out. But they do provide cheap lunch. I love Sam's. I can't hate on Sam's. I'm not hating on it. Just, they don't need help. What's the business sense? Okay, what is the business sense? And that's the big thing. And that's why I said he went elsewhere. He did go to Georgia. I didn't want to make that point because it's been made plenty of times. But do you think Todd is either I don't know his NFL allegiances, but I'm sure his ad spend is more with the Cowboys than it is the Saints. Because like Post Malone's involved and he owns a store and it's crazy. Guitar George says maybe we're just going to load up on the rostered with only receivers and edge rushers. We have folks who can catch no matter who is the quarterback and stop other O's. So my wife and I actually got into a pretty big argument about this week. Y'all want to go get her? I'll get her on here. She's in her G-Jams. If you're married, you know to not mess with the significant other when she gets in her G-Jams. But she got in my face. She said, "Hey, we need to go get a Costco membership." And I was like, I've never been to a Costco. Never. But people swear it's better than Sam's. I don't know about that. I do not know about that. I've never understood the Aldi hype, though. I mean, what the hell is that? Yeah, here's Aldi. It's literally just a grocery store. Mm. So I want to talk a little bit more about Indiana. It's not that I'm tired of talking about the same LSU players over and over. I can, though. We can go through the Sam Leavitt archive. We got an hour-long Sam Leavitt film study for you to watch as well. Costco is nicer than Sam's. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not ready to get there. Sorry. Costco's nicer than Sam's. I wonder if in the future, if there is if there's going to, and I will share, this was part of why I picked Indiana and Miami, is that there is so much focus on the concentration of Ole Miss's staff. But what was not included was the concentration of Oregon staff. Both their offensive and defensive coordinator had to build their roster this week. Will Stein at Kentucky, which, by the way, this is important, was a late switch in the cycle. And then Tosh Lapoy. All right, so, I don't think it's a big deal. Hey, what's up, sissy? I don't think it's a big deal if you lose one coordinator. Right? Ole Miss lost one coordinator. Now, they lost a lot of assistants. But Ole Miss's coordinator still coached, and Charlie still coached a great game. The difference for Oregon tonight, Indiana's better. They probably win that game 9 times out of 10. But both your coordinators are having to build teams. By the way, it's not just that they're having to build teams. This is the first time they've done it. They've never been head coaches before at any level. And, oh, yeah, you have got to schedule visits. You got to get signatures. You got to build a roster. What? So one thing I'm going to do going into the future, if they don't change the calendar, is, and I've done this in the NFL a lot, I am betting against coordinators that are fully focused on their next job or that they're interviewing for other jobs. It's hard. And in college football, it's way harder. Way harder. Shantavius, that is a great name. That is such a great name. The Oregon kicker's name, what was his name? Theodore Magnificent?
Come on.
No, she's here.
She's tired. I thought you were done.
No.
What are y'all talking about?
That's what she said. I'm watching my dog. She wants to be in here with me.
Mama.
She wants to be in here with
I
me.
think I got my trial going.
Did
What'd
you
you say?
did you want to be on here? We had a Costco versus Whole Foods argument. We had Costco versus Whole Foods. You were telling me
Costco.
you never been to
We're
one.
getting a Costco membership because of all the benefits. You should see the benefits all over TikTok.
I mean, you're making it sound like you're making this sound like it's like a 401k match.
Come on, Piddle.
You're making it sound like, yeah, all the benefits with Costco.
Don't be up till 2:30, okay?
Like yeah, you get dentist, you get medical. I mean, what the hell? Waylon, thank you for the super chat. I missed it. I'm sorry. Yeah, Jacob Cowell sent me the trade at screen. My big thing is trade at screen going to keep number 14. I think Trade is going to go down to a single this year. I would be more shocked if he stuck with 14, if anything. Yeah, I saw someone tweet out. Yeah, Jamar Chase, Malachi Tony's as good of a prospect as Jamar Chase. I saw someone do it. It's bait. It's the worst bait I've ever seen. I do not think Malachi Tony is as good as Jamar Chase. They're not really even similar as prospects. I don't really find anything they do to be similar. I saw Terrence Tolliver on LSU's campus today. That was cool. Love me some Terrence Tolliver. You want underrated LSU wide receiver? Number 80 is where you start and end. Randy loves my wife's voice. What does that mean? Randy, pulling up my sleeves here to protect my own. No, she does have a pleasant voice. Benny, please, dude. What is this comparison? If you're gonna be a member and then drop this, hey boys, so not including the girls. LA Mom might have an opinion on this. In-N-Out or Dave's Hot Chicken? Really? In-N-Out or Dave's Hot Chicken? Yeah, hey. Who's a all-time better player? Mario Chalmers or Kyle Schwarber? I mean, what kind of, it's just not even, you could have done like Cane's and Zaxby's, McDonald's and Burger King. They choose two completely different things. Now, who's an all-time better artist? Chris Stapleton or Lauryn Hill? I mean, what is that? I mean, that is just, if you were just going to destroy our chat with one, just a comparison like that, take a look at the poll question. Does LSU land Leavitt? 70% of you say yes. I've never had Dave's Hot Chicken. Never. Never, not once. So a few of you, I saw one of you ask my thoughts on the NFL playoff games this weekend. I just feel the Jaguars are the sharp side versus the Bills. I do. I mean, the Bills were favored 1.5, and then, we get some movement in favor of the Jaguars. I once again, I do Jaguar breakdowns every week. All right. It's one of the two NFL teams I do breakdowns of every week. I do the Saints, and then the other two teams I covered are out, the Commanders and the Chiefs, Mahomes and Jaden. Okay. And dude, the Jaguars are good, man. I just think they're a better team. They're at home. They've always been good at home in the playoffs. That's a great stadium for a home game. And your whole reasoning in picking the Bills has been Josh Allen when it shouldn't be that. I think the Jaguars' run D is overrated. I don't love their defensive tackle room, which sucks because Mason Smith is in that defensive tackle room. Even though the Jaguars' advanced numbers say that their rushing defense is good, I don't think it's that great. So I do think if the Jaguars are going to lose this game, it's going to be at the hands of James Cook more than it would be Josh Allen. But I think Liam Cohen is a top 10 coach, and I really do think Sean McDermott is a bottom 10 coach. And if you're just to go position by position, both teams have shaky-ish offensive lines, okay? Deion Dawkins is by far the best offensive lineman on either one of the teams, but, I'm not a big fan of the overall units. Running backs, Cook is better. He led the league in rushing, and then you compare him to Etienne. Both teams have kind of weak RB2 situations. Wide receiver, that's not close. Jaguars by a mile. If Brian Thomas Jr. has turned into an afterthought, Jaguars by a mile there. Tight ends are about equal on both teams. And then defensively, man, what do you love about this Bills team? And then you get into coaching. I get Liam Cohen versus Sean McDermott. I just think even with the line movement. Now, who does the NFL want? The NFL wants Josh Allen. But I do think the Jaguars are the sharp side. I do. Okay. I mean, at least 50 burgers better than In-N-Out. That's not true. In-N-Out's fire. In-N-Out's actually my favorite fast food burger. And I love Whataburger. Lucas says, can you send me the link to get those headphones? Not even joking. It's funny, Lucas, I hate them. They hurt. I don't like having headphones. I prefer to have a microphone. But the reason I use them is because of my mannerisms. These are so old. I think these were actually made in the like in the 90s, maybe 2000s. These are so old. So you don't want these. There's better versions of this. This is kind of rusted. So one day I feel like my face is going to look like Two-Face. I also don't like it because it doesn't go well with my green screen. Well, Pierce, you want to fight about it? You're going to throw hands next time? Looks like I stole these out of a propeller plane cockpit. Oh, okay, cool. Lucas, I'll bring you on right now. I think you're a young media guy. I want Lucas to come on. I don't give a damn. We're just chilling. So let's go. I'll go through. Type Y for yes, type in for no if you want me to go through the NFL games. I see a few of you ask me to give a portal grade thus far. It's definitely a C plus at this point. Okay. Actually, no, I'd go B minus. I think that's fair. Obviously, the numbers are really good. Defensively, you've done really good. So yeah, I think B minus is about where we need to be. But yeah, we all know the elephant in the room, right? And it's not elephant, it's elephants not in the room. Or we'll go through this really quickly. Rams 10.5 over the Panthers. Panthers won this game a few weeks ago in the same matchup. Rams going cross country versus the Panthers. 45.5 is your number. Obviously, the Rams are one of the heavily favored teams to win the Super Bowl. If they're going to do it, they're probably going to have to win 3 road games as a 5 seed. The Rams could win this game and host a playoff game next week if the Packers and the 49ers win. I don't think that's too out of the ordinary. I think this is, when I look at this from afar, I think this is one of the stronger wild card seasons we've had with the Rams, Packers, and Bears, or the Rams, Packers, and the 49ers. I do think the Rams win. Do they just blow these Panthers out? No. I don't think the Rams even played bad the first time they went to Carolina, but give me the Rams winning this one 28-20. Packers, Bears, Packers 2.5. Snow is in play here. 7 p.m. kick. We had this game a few weeks ago. It was pretty thrilling. Caleb Williams overtime bomb after the onside kick. And my guy Colin loves the Bears in this spot. He lives in Chicago. He's a big Bears guy. Packers 2.5. There's questions if the Packers are even playing the right quarterback at this point. Bears have the better O-line. Bears, I feel, have the better wide receivers at this point. I look at Green Bay as a team that's just had some very shaky no-shows, right? They had that weird game versus Dallas earlier this year. They ended in a tie. They lost on the road versus the Browns. 4th year in a row, the Packers are a 7 seed in the NFL playoffs. 2.5, no Micah Parsons. I do think the Bears is a better side. I do think I think we have overrated what Caleb has done this year, though. I really do think so. I lost a lot of years doing the NFL thing, so I'll stop. They're like, I'm not doing any more NFL stuff. Here's what I'll do. I'll give you the rest of my NFL picks if we get a super chat. So in super chats, I can give you all the picks and the wagers. And I have a few props as well. I like the over for Puka Nacua, by the way. I think this is a big game for him, even with the J.C. Horn situation. There is one NFL LSU related thing that I wanted to get into, though. I am really pissed that the Commanders said, okay, Cliff Kingsbury, you're not good enough. Let's give David Blow the offensive coordinatorship. Okay. David has never called plays before. He's 30 years old. He's with the head coach who I think is in over his head. And this is year 3 of Jaden Daniels coming off an injury or an injury-riddled season. Don't love it. Don't love it at all. In-house hire for a situation that ended poorly in-house? Where does that rationally make sense? I'm not happy about it. Okay, and I've developed some relationships in DC with some of my Commanders coverage, but I'm not a happy camper for Jaden. So I get protective over Jaden. But he's going to go out. He's going to ball. It's not going to be a big deal. But I just don't know, man. I just don't know. Let's go to Mike. Love the Saints logo, man. Kane's 3-finger box for dinner, 3 fingers in my wife's box for dessert. Okay, Mike. Let's go. Mike, who's never super chatted before, just comes in hot. 3 fingers. And by the way, he's referencing. He put 3 of his fingers to steal a tender out after his meal was done, and he considered that tender he ate out of her box. I don't know, Mike. Either way, those your hand probably smells. That's funny, Ronnie. And it's Popeyes all day. That's an easy one. If you want, and I've shared this before, but I'm friends with Todd's right hand man. His main guy. Very nice guy. I'm gonna send him that. And he might send you a gift card. Okay. Okay. Tell him. Oh, Mike, thank you for making me laugh. All right. So, one thing about the end of this college football season that I'm going to enjoy is that this is the last COVID year. Okay. So, if you got a COVID year in 2020, 2025 is the last year that the COVID year guys are still around, unless you got some kind of magical redshirt type of situation. So, take TJ Finley, for instance. He was a, 2021 guy? No, he's a 2020 guy. So, this is the last year for them. When you factor in medical, so 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. That's it. There shouldn't be any more COVID year guys. And obviously, it took a worldwide pandemic there. It's got to stop. And I do think the best way to standardize all of this would be the 5-year and 5 model and have college athletes be allowed to play 5 seasons. Just not loving the current redshirt rule with how some of that is handled with the players and coaches. It is kind of crazy though. Like, Sig, dude. All right, y'all. We'll take a few more here. Once again, if you want me to give all my NFL picks, send a super in, because I am worn out. Oregon had 55 4 and 5 stars on the roster, and Indiana had 8. Roby. Yeah, I have no clue. And because there's just so many dominoes. I like Jags and Eagles. There you go. I don't understand why Dan Lanning's taking some heat. Like that makes 0 sense to me. Like, do you know how many teams would kill to have Dan Lanning as their coach right now? If you were to poll Alabama fans, hey, you want your guy or you want Dan Lanning? Like, he probably lost to the 2 eventual national champions, and he beat the bejesus out of a $20 million roster. Jay Wade. And you came in right when I was giving that take. You don't like him. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why people hate Lanning. I don't get it. Mm. But it's always like with every team that loses. This is one thing I don't like about college football. And I'm a victim of this as well, or I'm a perpetrator of this. Every time a team loses, it immediately gets into this team was fraudulent. A&M loses. They played an easier SEC schedule than everyone else. Oregon loses badly. They didn't beat any teams in the top 15. Like, yeah, we always do it. Y'all, every college football team is fraudulent. There are very few instances where, like, the final four teams were bulletproof. Like, and I know this makes 2019 LSU look better, but that Oklahoma team was good. That they beat into a powder. That was Jalen Hurts. That was CD freaking Lamb. Nick Benito. It was a good team. All those guys are Pro Bowlers. Ohio State was better than Clemson. They just lost on a miscommunication. Justin Fields threw 3 picks. Buddha cheese. Hope you remember me. Okay, yeah, I do. Yeah, look. I always have a bone to pick with you, man. So, funny story. Thanks for the super. I was in Dallas. I think this was it. I think my wife knows the name of the place. She's somewhere around here. And I saw you in this establishment. It was called the Junkyard Dogs, or whatever it is, like a bar. It's like in Dallas. It's next to Trader Joe's. So I go there and I saw this guy wearing like a dope LSU hat. And I was like, I'm gonna go up there and say hi to him. I was like, no, I'm not. No. My wife was ready to go, and I left. And I was like, it's a complete stranger. I love meeting other LSU fans in random places. And I get a message from Buddha Cheese. It is, if you are correct. Please confirm this. And you say the following. Hey, man, I've seen you on YouTube before. I didn't want to go up and interrupt you. And I don't think you've ever been in a YouTube chat before. But that drives me insane, dude. I am not like that at all. You can approach me anywhere. Okay? You can approach me anywhere. Stop me, say hi, all that stuff. Like, it really makes my day. It really does. I understand that changes once I have kids and stuff like that, but that's not where I am right now in my life. Truck Yard, that's the name of it. Drove me nuts though. It really did. And I didn't get to meet you, man. It sucks because I love your Twitter. Buddha cheese. Buddha cheese. Truck Yard. Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Nick, LSU Sports. So we're going to go ahead and end this one. Unless Buddha Cheese has a question. Love Buddha Cheese. Thank you for the super chats. We appreciate it. Let's go to Buddha. Let's talk Sam Leavitt. All right, yeah, let's talk about Sam. So obviously involving this, he as LSU Sports and Moscona reported, the Lane train flew into Knoxville and Sam still boarded the plane to go visit Miami. Okay. With Leavitt's camp, they wanted to make all their visits. After the Kentucky thing happened, part of the reason why Kentucky moved so quickly on Kenny Minchie, who's an unproven player but is talented and has been a backup at Notre Dame for a long time now. Part of why they moved so quickly on it is because even though Sam loved Kentucky, and I shared earlier what I had to say about Sam and Kentucky and Sloan and all of that, it felt good. But part of why they moved on to Minchie wasn't so much that Sam was going to LSU. It was that Sam wanted to make all his visits. So he went to LSU, he went to Tennessee, and then now he's going to Miami. And then we'll see what Dante Moore, maybe Oregon gets in this mix. Okay. And then he's got a handler. He's got agents, as do most. So we'll see what happens, But your opinion, or you're probably here to ask me what I think of Sam as a player. Did a lot of research on him this week. Elite competitor. All right, so this was from a friend who an NFL draft scout, a pretty high-level NFL draft scout told him this, that they grade, obviously, every player on a scale in, like, different categories. Arm strength, all of it. And then competitiveness. How much do you want it? Sam Leavitt's competitiveness is the highest grade they give to a player, per this scout. So that's good. Obviously, work ethic, that also got a really high grade. That was something that was, said throughout his Arizona State tenure, okay, that he is an extremely hard worker. He's an edgy guy. All right, so you're going to get a little Pavia. Going into the Texas game, he said he was a better quarterback than Quinn Ewers in the playoff game, and he almost pulled that off, okay? So you then get into Leavitt as far as the passing. I think he misses a few gimmies. In particular, swing passes can be, an adventure with him. Before we get into the actual throws per se, what about Sam as with the supporting cast? Obviously, 2 years ago, had the best running back in the sport with the Cam Scatterbu, and then this past year, you had the best wide receiver in the Big 12 and the best NFL draft prospect wide receiver in Jordan Tyson, and he forced it to him from time to time, as you should if you're the number one NFL draft prospect playing in the Big 12. But I do think supporting cast gets a little overvalued for him in terms of, he played well this year with a supporting cast as good as his, because he did have a really good running back in Malik Brown. But the offensive line was shaky. I didn't love their tight end room. But then we get into what Sam can control, which is, his own play. Good arm. It isn't Josh Allen level. If I were to scale it from 1 to 10, and arm strength could be a tricky thing. I'd say it's about a 6.5 to 7. I think it's good. Definitely good enough for the collegiate. Is an amazing anticipatory thrower on deep balls, right? So if he extends a play, he can air out an absolutely beautiful deep ball. Okay. Loves throwing deep posts, deep overs. Overall accuracy is fine, not his finest attribute. You're not going to confuse him for Dante Moore, if you will, in that category, but it's really good. And obviously you get the running ability with Sam. Okay, doesn't take sacks and doesn't turn the football over. But then we get into the negatives. We talked about the gimmies that were missed. The biggest, which is obvious for anyone to know, is the injuries, right? He was hurt, and you have some somewhat shaky medicals. I think at this point you can't really factor that in. You kind of just have to roll with the punches, if you will. I think you can get into trouble if you worry too much about injury history. Okay. But you could see, really good runner, 73 carries, 306 yards, 5 touchdowns. Like we told you, 10 touchdowns to 3 interceptions this last year. Really good. All right, QBR 65.2, not really that great. We broke down the Texas Tech game at length. That was, to me, the best game of his career. 28 of 47, 1 touchdown. There was a lot of drops. Took 4 sacks. A lot of them were not his fault. Okay? And then this is obviously the year that everybody knows him for, 2024. Did basically start all the games. And is his Texas performance, 24 of 46. No touchdowns, 1 INT. Took 3 sacks. Playing a far better team than his. 4th and 13 for the win. Texas was able to get it done. But overall, Sam Leavitt, 80 QBR in 2024. And last year's QBR was 65.9. Mississippi State game obviously was not great. 10 of 22, 82 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs, 2 sacks, 41 QBR. They still should have won that game, though. So there you go. All right, that'll do it for me. I love doing these late night ones. This is vintage PHL. You got to be a sicko to be up this late, and that's exactly what this channel is for. LSU football sickos. I do not think we'll go live tomorrow. Enjoy the NFL games. And there you go. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. Tonight we are doing Mom Spaghetti. 8 Mile style. Let's go.